Okay, so the predictive life cycle, so which is where the scope, time, and cost are defined clearly and in the early stages of the project life cycle, so which runs from analyze to the delivery stage. And the iterative life cycle, wherein the scope is defined in the early stages, but time and cost estimates are routinely modified based on the requirement changes that is coming in. So that is how the iterative or iterative life cycle that we're running in. And the third one is the incremental life cycle. So that is the deliverable is produced through a series of iterations. So it will run in different iterations, whereas analyze, design, build, test, you do a run, and then you go to the next iteration, which runs with the analyze, design, build, test. So it can be a feature or an epic or a story. So each one that you will be delivering. So in one iteration, there may be a release, or after 2 or 3 iterations, there may be a release. So that you'll be deciding based on that. And the next the life cycle is the adaptive life cycle, or which is a change driven, or the agile method type of life cycle. So wherein there are two types. So one is the iteration based agile and the flow based agile. So in iteration based agile, so each time box is the same size. There is in flow based, the time it takes to complete a feature is not the same as for each and other feature. So in iterations, if you see the requirements analysis, design, build, test is running in one iteration, and the second iteration is also same, third. So all the iteration length are same. That is so based on the iteration, so it runs for 2 to 4 weeks. Each iteration will run for 2 to 4 weeks. Whereas in flow based, so this maybe the number of the WIP limits, that is the work in process limit. So based on that, so which feature, how many features that you're going to release. So based on that, you will decide on um, the duration of the cycle. So in flow based, the duration varies based on the features, whereas in iteration based, the duration remains the same. It may be 2 to 4 weeks of the duration, and so as and when the release are needed, so they will be doing the release. And the final life cycle is the hybrid life cycle. So wherein you will have the combination of the agile and the predictive method. So either you do the agile method followed by the predictive method, or the combination of agile and predictive in each cycle, or you do largely the predictive approach and give the agile components, or you do largely agile approach, or you give the predictive components. So these are the 5 different life cycles. So mainly we are going to see today about the predictive and the agile method, not the methodology and the framework, but how it is used in the PM. Okay. So now I'll hand over the session to Needhi. So Needhi.
Hello all, can you hear me all?
Yes, Nidhi,
Uh,
you are audible.
okay, fine. So we are starting with the traditional PMO. As Shaju already mentioned, we both work together in an organization, and then we had a great experience moving from traditional PMO to controlling PMO, and then Olby was there in the organization to finish off the agile migration from the traditional PMO. Okay, so let's start with the slides related to traditional PMO. So let's see what the PMI defines about PMO. So PMO is an org structure that standardizes the project-related governance process and facilitates the sharing of resources, methodology, tools, and techniques. Okay, so the PMO is a PMO provides supporting functions to projects, programs, portfolio. Okay, so it can provide support in some areas, and it can go up to direct management of one or more projects. That's what we see in the second paragraph. Okay, so it depends on the type of PMO. where you work on, their role and the responsibilities vary. Okay, so today we are going to see in details what are the three different traditional PMOs as described by PMI Project Management Institute, and what they are saying in the PMBOK. Let's see about it. And before we go into the details, let's see, we should also understand project, program, and portfolio, how they are interrelated. So I see many of you, some of you are doing project management, some of you are part of a program, some of you are part of a portfolio. So the PMO terminology is used for defining project management office, program management office, and portfolio management office. It depends. Okay, so as we know already, the project, if the projects are interrelated, and if it's part of the program, then that's the program. And a portfolio consists of different sub portfolios, programs, and projects. Okay, so this is how they are interrelated to each other. So a project management officer, that's the role, that will be part of the PMO, or there will be a PMO lead or the portfolio director, and these are the different roles and the leads who are a part of the PMO. So moving on to the next slide. So this is what we are going to see in detail. Traditional PMO, as we described earlier, we joined an organization which was in one of the type of PMO. It was a supportive PMO when we joined. This was in the year 2010 2011. Supportive PMO. Oh, so as per the definition, supportive PMO, it provides a consultative role and to the projects or program or sub portfolio within the, the portfolio. So this supportive PMO has all the templates, the best practices, the project management methodology, and training availability, and all kinds of information is available. And they in fact have the lessons learned from the completed projects, and it's kind of all kind of project repositories available in this supportive PMO. But the overall control over the projects and program is very low. So as the name suggests, it is a supportive PMO. It provides supports, okay, to the projects and programs. But in so when we joined this organization, it was in supportive PMO. And supportive PMO, what happens is they may not follow the template that is part of the organization. Each projects may have their own Excel templates to do their cost estimation, and some may not use a project schedule, some use Excel. So the tools they choose on their own. There is no control from the PMO. There is no drive from the PMO to use these particular tools. And this is how you need to conduct your performance review. There's no proper control. There are guidelines available, but there was no mandate. So if you're not talking, can you go on mute, please? Okay, thanks for that, Shaju. So let's move on. So we are in the supportive PMO, and we found that as per the definition of PMO, it has less control, or overall low control over the projects and programs and sub portfolio. Okay, so moving on, the second type of PMO is a controlling PMO. So this is slightly different. They have a better control than the previous one. So all the project management methodology framework, everything was available. And it was mandatory for the projects and programs to use all the tools and templates. Everybody has to do the cost estimation in the same way. The performance review should happen on a weekly basis, or a bi-weekly basis, or a monthly basis. So there is a proper timeline and deadline for everything. The actuals reports are always available on the first week of the month, and the portfolio review has to happen on the 15th of the month. Like that, there is a better control comparing with the supportive PMO. So moving on to the directive PMO. So here the control on the projects and the programs is more, comparing with the degree of control is high. right. So that's about the directive PMO. In the directive PMOs, what will happen is the project manager himself will be part of the PMO. They report to the PMO lead. So the project manager is well aware of all the tools, techniques, process, how the cost estimation has to be done, how the schedule should be developed, how risk has to be managed, and everything as per the standards of the organization. The project manager is well aware. So the directive PMO has a complete control on the project's program and portfolio, and so these are the different kinds of PMO. We cannot say which is the best one. It depends on the organization to have control on the projects. So in our experience in the last, we started with the supportive PMO, and we could slowly improve and then move into the controlling PMO, and we were almost in the directive PMO. As we, it took few years for us to for this journey to complete. But that's what we want to share, the case study with us, how we transformed from supportive PMO to directive PMO. So before going into the case study that I was talking about, so we should know about the PPM tools, project portfolio management tools. These are standard tools that are that should be available in a PMO normally. Okay, so these kind of PPM tools, as you can see, HP PPM, Clarity PPM, Microsoft Project Online, Jira, and there are many PPM tools available. Some of the organization may have their own PPM tools, but PPM tool is a tool that will integrate your project cost, schedule, risks, issues, resources, everything together in one platform. So if you are part of a controlling PMO or the directive PMO, you should have a PPM tool, and that all these data has to be integrated so that the reporting will be perfect, and so on. So that's the one slide about the PPM tools. Let's move on to the case study. So the title, you can see, transformation from supportive to controlling PMO. So today we saw about the three types of PMO: supportive, controlling, directive. Okay, so the challenge we had in the supportive PMO that we were working was inconsistent or inaccurate reporting by project managers, because they were basically using a pull down to choose what is their project drag. We had standards like green, red, or amber. So the project manager can choose the project drag on his own without any data driven. Okay, so he can just choose, he can just say project is in green because all are on track and resources are available. They can give some comments, and then they can choose. That was one of the challenge we saw. There should be an improvement there. So that should be a data driven metric. That's what we thought. So, and another problem we had was there was a late warning to project performance to the management. So once the project manager executes the project, as they report the RAG, whether they are green or red or amber, the management can come in, and the management or the program manager or the portfolio manager can come in and they can support, right? So if the project manager manually chooses the color as green, just to be, just to indicate everything is going on track, so they were just choosing like that. So the warning came so late to the management. By that time, they could not control the cost, or they could not control the project failure. So there was no early warning system. Okay, and center of excellence was there. There were all templates available for everything. All there are 10, around 20, 30 templates available for each of the phases of the project, but it was considered optional. Some projects use the templates, some do not. Okay, so let's see some of the templates, some of the estimation tools that they used. So can we go to that link, various methods? So this is so some of the project managers, they were converting Excel into a bar chart or a Gantt chart, and they were using it for their project planning and project tracking purpose. Okay, and some other projects, they were using a proper project plan. If you go to the next slide, Shaju, so this is a proper way of planning in a project, project planning tool. This is a Microsoft project plan. So some people were using proper project management tools, some were using Excel. And then let's see next one. We have an example. of this is how the resources were estimated, the costs were estimated. They had an Excel spreadsheet where they had all the resources details and cost were estimated this way, and another project will have another template, so it is not standard. Let's move on to the next one to see a sample on the financials. So this is how they were doing the financials tracking. It is a simple Excel file where they have all the budgets, actuals, EAC, BAC, and it varies by portfolio or program by program. There was no mandate. Everything was good. We should not say each project had different bad templates. They had a very good way of showing it, but there was no uniform way of showing the project performance. Okay, so move on. Let's go to the next slide. So this is how the benefits tracking was done. Benefits tracking and management is also part of the PMO function in the work that we did. So it's all Excel based. It's all Excel based. So let's go on. So this is how they were reporting the portfolio summary reports. They were reporting the status or the top 5 projects or programs in the portfolio. I'll move on, and then so this is how they were reporting one page executive summary where they defined all of it. So it's all different colors because there was no mandate. Okay, so the color format, the fonts, everything was different. The overall everything was different. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So that was about the uncommon reporting formats. And overall, if you see, resources status was reported separately, cost was reported separately, schedule was reported separately. There was no integration of, okay. So that was missing there. There was no integration of all these, they will say triple constraints as per the PMI standard. They'll say schedule, cost, scope. These all are the triple constraints. There was no integration of the triple constraints. So that was the challenge we had in the supportive PMO. Okay, let's move on to the next slide where we will explain what was the approach we took to improve ourselves. Okay, so what management decided was, so all of these problems were highlighted to management, and management came up with an idea. Okay, let's migrate to a new PPM tool. If you remember the previous slide, we saw about the various PPM tools. So we decided with one PPM tool, we did a project to migrate all the projects, Excel-based project plan, individual project plans into a PPM based tool. So all projects were migrated, and we introduced earned value methodology where we had data driven metrics. So from now onwards, based on the project updates, the tools will show project is in green or red or amber. It was no more manually selected. It was a data driven metrics, and the management and the sponsor and the program managers were able to get early warnings if the project is behind schedule, if some of the tasks are delayed, if the critical path is delayed. The SPI, the schedule performance indicator, it showed the metric clearly. Early warning method was there. And what we did, because we have a PPM tool, we recruited PMO experts like project finance analysts, project schedulers, and project controllers, and we formed a central PMO team. And the central PMO team reported to the PMO lead, and all these PMOs were very well skilled on all of these methods, and they were deputed to different projects. So one controller or one project scheduler will support 2 or 3 projects based on the size of the project. So this was the improvements that we did. It's definitely, it took a long time for us, but it's actually a good journey for us to share with you all. So let's see some of the standards. What was the revised? How did we improve? Okay, so you can see how we improved is we had a standard way of reporting the project status. Everybody will have a standard way of project status reporting like this. There will be an executive summary on the left side. There will be items for management on the right side. So the sponsor or the management is always able to understand the project in the same fashion, same format. Okay. So due to confidentiality, we could not show all the proper template, but we just we are showing the the high level. Let's move on to the next one. So this is how the program or the portfolio status was reported. You can see different projects are coming in the first column, the project manager name, the previous status of the project, current status, and what is the expected status for the next 1 month, what's the end date, start date, delivery, and you can see the RAG for everything. It's all uniform all over. Okay, move on. Let's show about. So this is the PPM tool that we build. There are many PPM tools. It depends. So as you can see, all of the things are available in one place. You can look at your program. You can look at the financial management. You can see the demand management. You can do resource management, schedule management, risks, issues. Okay. So that is the integration we did. Everything was fully integrated. Okay. Let's see the next one. So the Gantt chart looked like this, and we had risks and issues performed here directly in the same tool, and then we had resource estimation, resource allocation, and then we were also having the various reporting options. Okay, so this is how we improved from a supportive PM to a PMO to controlling directive PMO. So and then we can and then we also had data visualization tool, the business intelligence tool. This is all standard. Okay, so nobody built this in Excel. This is a business intelligence tool, and the project has to select their project name, and they will see the number of risks, issues, dependencies, everything they were able to see in one view, and the view was uniform all across the program managers, project managers, portfolio managers, the directors. Everybody could see that. So that's the change. And last, let's talk about the risk analysis and projects that are greater than 5 million or 10 million dollars. We also did the probabilistic schedule analysis, is also called risk analysis or Monte Carlo simulation. So the project schedule, the integrated project schedule was entered into the Monte Carlo simulation tool, and the tool provided um, data like, what is the expected finish date of the project, or we could say like at 80% confidence we can say the project will finish from August 15th to September 15th, like that we could give a confidence range. So these are the tools that we were using. We were also using the Monte Carlo simulation for estimating the cost range. So we could say the cost, the end of the project cost will be ranging from 1 million to 1.2 million. Okay, so that way we could say using the Monte Carlo simulation. So this is how we have grown from supportive to controlling PMO. So that's the end of the traditional PMO side. Over to Shaju on the Agile PMO.
Thank you, Needhi. So I hope you got a better understanding how we moved from the supporting PMO. Even supporting PMO is partial, but before that itself we started, and the journey we moved ahead and made it as a controlling PMO, and with the better control of projects and everything. So now we'll move to the Agile PMO. So either it is called as Agile Program Management Office or Agile Portfolio Management Office. Here, in continuation from my previous introduction to the predictive and agile and the project and development life cycle, so I'm once again showing this since it's a mixed set of crowd or the audience that we have. So to have better understanding for everyone, so I included the some basic information about the predictive and agile also. So how do you select whether it is whether you need to go for a predictive or a agile project? So if you project or a product, because in some framework they will not call anything as a project, so they will say everything as a product when they move to agile. So if your project is complex, and then you go for agile, or if it is an adaptive project, then you go for agile, and if there are so many feedbacks and changes, then you'll be going for agile. So agile is the best methodology to follow in case of complex or adaptive, or there are so many feedback and changes that is coming in quite often. So that is the better way to do it, and may have various interconnected phases in agile, and each stage may be dependent on many other rather than a single one, as in simple projects. So agile methods are preferred for mainly preferred for larger and complex projects. The main reason why managers or developers choose agile is for flexibility it offers. So, so whenever there is a change that is coming in, so that it will allow to do the flexibility, whereas in the traditional thing, so it brings in more complexities and can block the entire process and force to start all over again. Okay. So see, so how we can mainly select about the agile is if you see the the x-axis shows the delivery frequency and the y see the degree of change. So if the degree of change and the delivery frequency is low, then we go for predictive, and if the degree of change and the delivery frequency is high, then you go for agile method. Okay. So before we go further, so just a little bit about the Agile Scrum framework. So so this Agile Scrum framework, so this part is mainly followed by the teams. So the team comprises of product owner, the Scrum Master, and the teams. So the teams will have the business teams, the developers, testers, and various other persons who will work together. So it's a collaborated team, and so the product owner gets the input from the customers or managers or executives, and he prepares the product backlog, and then from that, which are the things that you're going to take it in a particular sprint. So each sprint may be 1 to 4 weeks in duration. So that based on that, you take up that sprint planning. Then you prepare the sprint backlog. From that is how you do the prioritization, and so which task you need to do first, which is second. So those type of prioritization that you'll be doing, and then you'll be executing that in 1 or 4 week sprint. So if you decide you're going to do a 1 week sprint, then continuously each and every sprint will be having 1 week. So if you decide on 2 weeks, then each and every iterations or sprint will be having 2 weeks, and each day you'll be having a daily stand-up meeting, so wherein you decide for that particular day what is the work that you're going to do and what you have completed. So those type of informations that you will be deciding on that, and at the end of each sprint you will do the sprint review and what is the finished work that is there, and if it need to go for release or something, that you will decide on that, and then you will decide on this, move on to the sprint retrospective. So sprint retrospective, you will analyze how this particular sprint has gone, whether what is the process that we were missing and what need to be added. So those type of things that will be analyzing here. And quickly we'll see about the small survey that the Standish group has done. So where they saw the project success rates compared to Agile and Waterfall. So Agile success rate is better compared to Waterfall projects. So Waterfall projects, the 26%, whereas Agile projects, the successful rate is nearly 42%. And comparing to the large projects, medium projects, and small projects, wherein if you see the large projects, the difference in success rates compared to Agile and Waterfall is Agile, it is nearly double the success rate, whereas in small projects, if you see a minor difference. Okay. So so the reasons for transition to Agile by most of the organizations are something is it improves the collaboration between the teams and enhances the quality level of the software in organizations, and it results in enhanced customer satisfaction, and it speeds the time to market, and it reduces the development cost. Okay. And so usually we do a multitasking name game. So because of the time constraints, already we are 40 minutes down. So we are not going to do it. So just a quick information about this one. So the project manager, so he has 4 different clients, and so he does the work. So without he don't want to make each and every customer to wait. So he does the work. So wherein you can see there are so many quality gaps, and the time that it takes, everything is mentioned. And the second one, each customer gets a turn, and so based on each and every customer that it analyzes, and the final one is one customer at a time. So you concentrate on one customer at a time and find out which is the highest value. So based on that you take up the analysis, and then you do it. So if you see the quality and the time difference, so the first if you see the first itself in the if you trying to continuously give deliverable for all the customers, then the time is like this, and if one by one if you go, the time is like this, and you have a better quality also. Apologies for not doing this exercise, so let's move on. So Agile PMO. So Agile PMO is mainly, it's an advisory kind of a role rather than a controlling role, and it needs well-trained people and right process and tools, and to keep everything aligned with the company business. And more responsibility on PMO providing business value rather than simply managing cost and schedule. So the PMO has to provide more business value rather than managing the cost and the schedule for different projects or the product. And you need to have more dynamic decision-making process, which might be used that level with such limited amount of upfront planning and less detailed return of investment analysis. Okay, so that's a general detail about the Agile PMO. So what SAFE, that is the Scaled Agile Framework, what it says about Agile PMO is so it works along with the solution train engineers, release train engineers, which is typically responsible for supporting the decentralized but efficient program execution. And it provides supports for standard reporting patterns, shared best practices, and the different institutional knowledges that it needs to have, and for the various different trains that are running at the each and every level, and it gives a solution for the portfolio management and the epic owners. And also it gives a clear indicator of the maturity of the agile transformation within the traditional as well as the Agile Project Management Office, and you increase and based on the measurement and adaptability, you improve the metrics and reporting within the program, solution, and the portfolio level. Now let's see what PMI is saying about Agile PMO. So what it says is Agile PMO is value driven, and so as we saw earlier, so it has to, the PMO has to look at the value and not very much focused towards the cost and the schedule. And it's basically invitation oriented. So this is achieved by inviting only those who are interested to engage in the PMO services, and higher engagement with the PMO practices makes it easier for those practices to be sticky. Yeah, and if the PMO delivering value to its client, it's more likely that the clients will request its services and adopt its practices more often. And also it says it's a multidisciplinary. So multidisciplinary means the developing and implementing standards, which provides the templates for user stories, test cases, cumulative flow diagram, and it provides tools and educates supporting groups. And then the developing personnel through training. So coordinate agile training courses, coaches and mentors to help people transition in agile mindset. And then about the multi-project management, coordinate between agile teams by communicating between various different projects. and consider sharing items such as progress, issues, retrospective findings, and improvements, experiments or prototypes, what are the things that have been done, so the subsequent projects and the other projects which are similar can improve and give a better value. And facilitating organizational learning, wherein it gathers the project velocity profiles and capture and store and index the retrospective findings. So based on the retrospective findings, so what are the areas that we need to improve, or where you need to do more education and learning, will be finding out. And then manage the stakeholders, provide product owner training, guidance on acceptance testing, and champion the importance of SMEs, that is subject matter experts, to projects. And develop guidelines for interviewing the Agile practitioners, mainly into the recruiting, selection, and evaluating team leaders. And finally, executing specialized tasks for projects. So train and provide retrospective facilitators, create agreements with Agile troubleshooters, and provide mentoring and coaching. So these are some of the guidelines that is given by PMI. So that's a little bit basic about Agile PMO. So now let's see how we moved how did moved from the controlling PMO to the Agile PMO, that transformation phase. So that journey, how we did. So it took from nearly 2015 we started, and it didn't end in 2020, so it's still continuing. So it's a continuous process that is there. So to our explanation's sake, I have broken down as 3 different phases. One is the exploration or the awareness phase, and then the execute phase, and then the enterprise phase. So enterprise phase that started in 2018, and the exploration and the awareness phase started in 2015 to 2016. So initially the Agile, once it's introduced, so in the organization, so once everyone agreed and the management says, okay, we can start doing Agile, and on a voluntary basis, they called up the people, and so whoever or which project managers would like to take up the Agile project, they can take, or if any of the vendors are doing Agile projects, then we can adopt that. So with that, we moved ahead, and what we found out from that is, so instead of following like a agile methodology or like a hybrid methodology, so the project managers, everyone was following like each iteration is having for each development. So each development they are doing an iteration. So 2 weeks they are doing one development, another 2 weeks another development. So instead of doing the requirements analysis, design, build, and test as one iteration, they were doing as development itself as one iteration, testing itself as one iteration, and they were moving on like that. So so that was one of the learning that we did. So based on our PMO, while doing the PMO analysis, we understood this, and so we went ahead to the management, and the management arranged the Agile training to PMOs. So we had a better understanding, and while doing the PMO, so while doing the Agile introduction, so we saw that many of the project managers who don't want to follow project plan or schedule, so they were don't want to mainly plan about the projects and don't plan about the resources, everything. So most of those persons are trying to take up that particular Agile projects. And during the training, we also found out that it's not, so most of the people will say that Agile means no planning. That's not true. So found out that in Agile planning, there are 6 levels of planning, starting from strategic planning, which is done at the executive leader level, portfolio planning at the customer unit level, product planning at the product managers level, release planning at the product owner or at the team level, and iteration planning at the team level, and daily planning at the team level. So this there are 6 different levels, and also in the safe planning, then there are different roles. So the vision, more than 1 year, shows the vision. Solution roadmap is prepared for 2+ years. PA roadmap run for 1 year, but that will have 3 to 4 PIs. That is the program increment planning, and each PI will have 8 to 12 weeks, and iteration is 2 weeks, and daily plan is there. So only the main difference is the Agile, you will do small durations and planning whereas in the predictive, you will be doing the upfront planning at the initial stage itself. What are the things that you're going to do it? So with that, we came up with the Agile hybrid template, and we allowed the people to use that template, so which shows on how the different processes are running. So initiation process and the initial approval process were running in the predictive method, and the remaining design as well as the build that is running in the agile method. So like that, we created the template, and also we got some plugins to work with the PPM tools, so that help them to manage the task boards and everything. So this is how the template looks like. So each sprint will have sprint planning, execution, demo, and so this is at the high level. And at the next level, based on the project managers or the Scrum Master, they can further break it down based on that project need, and they can make use of whether for the user stories or for the features or anything. Okay. And in the next level, we trained the expert group. So from each and every support portfolio level, we selected some expert groups of program managers and the project managers, and we gave them the initial training. So everyone will be able to adopt it so quickly, and possible with the possible changes with the understanding of hybrid or the full-fledged agile thing. So with this PMO, so we were able to develop some of the metrics. So so creating from the task board, so we were able to find out what the task board status, and get the burn down reports, either a work burn down or a task burn down report for each iteration, as well as for the project level. And also we will be able to find out the velocity. So for the each and every iteration or sprint, how the velocity were utilized, and how in a better way to equalize the velocity without any ups and downs between the projects. So with that, so 1 year we did that awareness phase, and then the execution phase. So management came up and set up some strategic alignments and goals, and they said the initial first year we need to have nearly 25% of the total set of projects. So we were having nearly 600 projects that was there, and in that nearly 25% of the projects should move into agile. So we need to try and move, so whoever is willing, so they can move into agile. And the second year they said nearly we'll try to bring in 50% of the projects. So with that, the PMO was acting something like a marketing. So as Needhi explained earlier about the controlling process, so at each and every month we have a different review meeting for all the projects, except for small projects. All the big projects that are greater than 1 million or greater than 5 million roadmap projects, so different review meetings that we have. So during the review meeting, we analyze the projects, and we ask the project managers whether they are willing to move as agile projects. So they will give their justification, and if someone is not willing, so it's we agree on that, because as per agile or as per scale or as per disciplined agile, so they say that you should not compel anyone to move into agile. So it's their understanding, and based on the invitation, so they have to they can go up. So some of the, so we also understood that whichever projects that are something like a repeatable or they have a clear plan, so they stick down to the predictive method, and others move to the adaptive method. And then with that information and other things, we further trained the teams, whoever is doing agile projects, and the portfolio teams, program teams, and the business teams who are all involved in one of the projects. So that we did onboarding for all the agile projects. So PMO did all the onboarding, trained the each and every team members, related sub portfolios, related program managers, related business members, product owners. So everyone we trained them, and so some of the basic training that we give. So since already I told it's a mixed audience here. So this is the requirements breakdowns, wherein in the portfolio you have the EPIC, so which gives the business initiatives that typically takes multiple program increments to fully deliver it. And then that is broken down into features which represent the product or a service capabilities that solve the specific problems at the user level, and which can be delivered in a single program increment level. And that is further broken down at the user story level. Okay, so that deliver on thin slices of functionality and delivered within the time box of a single iteration. So which can be delivered in single iteration, so that we will break down as stories, and the stories can be further broken down into task also. So a simple example of how the portfolio is broken down to EPIC and EPIC to feature. So if you see the Microsoft Business portfolio, they have Windows and Office application. So Windows is an EPIC and Office application is another EPIC. So if you take Windows EPIC, so that is being further broken down as the EPICs. EPICs are the Edge browser and OneDrive. So these are the two EPICs. So these are the two portfolios, and the Windows portfolio is further broken down into EPICs, and the Edge EPIC is broken down as different features. So improve the address bar, the Edge extension support, edit the URL, web notes on PDF. So these are the different features. And the features further, if you break down, you will get the stories, and stories further broken down as task. Okay, and then so once again we analyzed everything, and we updated the reframed the metrics for measurement. So with that, so whatever you saw, whatever Needhi shared in the controlling PMO, the same type of report we modified in such a way that the schedule information is not there, but all other information, so the scope related as well as the resource related and cost related are there. Only you see the schedule related information alone is missing. And in the portfolio also, we broke the portfolio report as two, one as predictive and another one as adaptive. So whereas predictive we have all the details, whereas in adaptive we have we removed the schedule related information, and what was previous status and what was the current status. So those informations are also removed in. So with that, so that execution phase was over. So with that success and with that value that we have seen, so that management was willing to move to the enterprise stage. So they want to scale up and they want to implement that. So they selected a particular portfolio and a program within that, and we started building up the enterprise scaling of Agile PMO. Simultaneously, we started building the LACE also, that is the Lean Agile Center of Excellence, which gives all the standards and the procedures for these reports. And once again, we measured the values, so the values were increasing and improving. And once again, we updated the metrics based on the program portfolio levels. So what are the different reports that are needed, and what are the different metrics that need to be given for different timelines. So one is the feature timeline roadmap that we prepared, and another one is the team PI performance report. So where we calculated the business value as well as the planned value. So during the PI system demo, the business owners, customer agile team, so they measure it and they give the predictability. So we prepare the predictability measure. Okay, and the epic progress report, solution train performance metrics. So these are the different metrics and other reports that we prepared, and we prepared the portfolio Kanban report. Okay, so those things that we prepared, and then the organization started rolling out to other portfolio units, other sub-portfolio units, and also they started implementing lean portfolio management. So, and still the implementation is going on for other sub-portfolios, and lean portfolio management is getting continued. Okay. So the major lessons that we learned is the starting with the importance of agile mindset and not just doing the agile practices, and designing a customized agile transformation roadmap that makes into account people, process, and technology infrastructure, and not just the training alone is not enough. And then integrating the change management practices into the transformation, and not just expecting to do it because leadership says to go ahead and do it. And providing direct training and coaching to the leaders and managers so they know what their role and how to behave with self-managed teams. And delivering agile team training just in time before the first sprint, identify high profile projects or organizations, and you'll be able to hire or source the coach so they will be able to mandate the achievement of the transformation goals and guide the team to the agile journey, encourage agile behaviors, and create a positive with the we believe culture. And then Agile Champions team, so wherein you can set the Agile COE, that is Agile Center of Excellence, or it can be called as a Lean Agile Center of Excellence, and create and executive steering committee. And then you have to create internal advocates. So the internal advocates will help you to speak with the different teams, different portfolio teams, different program teams, so that the change is very much smooth. So the internal advocates will help on that. And prepare a rollout strategy to have a better and clear picture. So either a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach, or you're going for a hybrid method or a scaled method. So those type of business, the rollout strategies, so which helps it. And finally, you measure and adapt with the various procedures and systems and agile assessments. So we'll be having the continuous learning approach. So based on the current market segments, how you'll be able to work on that. So the core thing is change in the culture, and the mindset are the key. So the change actually begins with you. So as Mahatma Gandhi has said, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. So in organization, so you need to be the change to see the success. So that's how our journey from starting with the basic to supporting to controlling, and the agile transformation. So who we are Center for Advanced and Practical Project Management. So we do services on advisory consulting services on project and portfolio management, business agility and transformation, on leading SAFE, and then Agile PMO transformation, professional services, and then other implementation services using all the PPM tools of Microsoft Project and Oracle P6, and professional services giving integrated project planning, DCMA schedule assessment, mentoring, coaching, planning and project control team selection process. So those things and the various different trainings that we offer are PMI certification trainings, PMI best practice workshops, safe certification workshops, and PPM technology workshops. So those are the things, and we open for questions. And these are the other future webinars we have and the upcoming trainings. So you can go to our website to see PPM, and you will be able to look at the details and you can register. So now we open for questions.
Okay, let's start with what kind of PMO you are working, like you are presently working, or what kind of PMO you are working in the past. Maybe you can start with that, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask now or
Yeah, so
even.
you can type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question. We are outside of our time, so we are 5 minutes past. So if you have questions, you can take. No, no questions. Okay then, so thank you so much for attending. So we'll send you the feedback form so you can type in your information. So if you need a certificate, you give the correct name, so we'll be able to share the certificate with you. Okay, thank you so much and
Okay.
have a nice evening.